Joining me now from the White House in Washington, D.C., White House Deputy Communications Director Brian Morgenstern. Brian, thanks for joining us. Obviously, there's so much to unpack, but first, I want to get your reaction to Senator Murphy and House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff running around, talking on the networks, basically accusing former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani of being a Russian asset. When Rudy Giuliani obviously is a patriot, he took down the mob, and they're going out there slandering the former mayor.
Oh, it's disgraceful. And the former mayor, I'm honored to call him a friend. And I know that he is a patriot and he is searching for information. He has been searching and he has uncovered information that is incredibly damaging and threatening. It shows that a major party's candidate may have been compromised by a foreign power. For these members of Congress to come out and say such things about the mayor, it's disgraceful. And frankly, they were peddling Russian disinformation for years. Their credibility went away when we found out that the Russia hoax originated with Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, and they're continuing to do these things. So it was pushed by the Democrats. Then they impeached the president for dealings with Ukraine when it looks like the Bidens, in fact, had dealings in Ukraine. This projection has to stop. This disinformation has to stop. And, thankfully, the president has a strong voice, a large following on social media. He does, of course, plenty of interviews and rallies, and he speaks directly to the American people, so he's able to expose these things. But without President Trump, this fighter, the American people might have never learned of these things. And thank God for Rudy Giuliani and the great work that he's doing. These members who are slandering the mayor should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can make the argument, this is what I've been saying for a long time, that Adam Schiff should have resigned a long time ago for misleading the American people on the first round of the Russia collusion hoax, and then to go out there and to continue this right before the election. Now, President Trump was calling on Barr to look into this. Do you think that this will happen before November 3rd, or is it too late?
Well, look, I can't speak for the Justice Department, and we would not want to exert any sort of political influence on them. The president has never been shy about expressing his opinion or asking the Justice Department to do certain things. I don't know if the Justice Department is investigating. The Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, earlier said he doesn't know. There may be an investigation ongoing. The issue is that the Department of Justice would not confirm whether there is or isn't an ongoing investigation for obvious reasons, because they would not want it to be compromised. But the fact is that these issues are very serious. If a major party's presidential candidate is compromised by a foreign power, as it seems like he may be, the American people deserve to find out before the election is completed. Because if they are voting and they find out later that these horrible dealings were going on, well then, the American people may feel duped, and we certainly don't want that kind of an outcome in our election. Of course, we hope that President Trump carries the day convincingly so we don't have to worry about that, but it's a real concern.
Yeah, absolutely looks like a threat to our national security. And we saw the ABC interview from about a year ago where Hunter Biden admitted that he gets these jobs, these titles, because of his last name. And people don't just give you a job because of your last name. They do it for influence and the potential to have an influence over policy with Biden while he was in the White House. Also, the latest, what we're learning is that Giuliani turned over some of the contents from the hard drive and the laptop over to the Delaware State Police. Apparently, he claims that it contained photos of underage girls and explicit text messages. So we'll see what's in this. Every day we're learning more, and it appears even worse than we thought.
Yeah, and I think some in the media, to the extent they're even talking about this, and the blackout from the mainstream media is completely inexcusable. But to the extent they're talking about it, they're really only referring to Hunter Biden, who obviously is a very troubled individual. But the fact is, this appears to have been a family operation, potentially peddling influence to Ukraine and potentially China, which, as we know from their Belt and Road Initiative, has been trying to basically do infrastructure deals, foreclosing on them, and then taking over countries through their ports and their roads and their bridges and things, and energy sectors. And if the Biden family was essentially helping communists to execute similar deals in the United States, that is a huge problem. That is a national security problem for the United States. And that's why the Biden campaign has to come out and answer these questions instead of locking down in the basement day after day after day. And that's why the debate will be so important and so illuminating for the American people if we can get some of these topics discussed out in the open.
Yeah, you're talking about the blackout and also just the censorship in general. And I'm sure the White House has a lot to say about that, considering some of the accounts, including White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. She was suspended for just sharing an article. Again, this is like China level censorship. I've never seen anything like this. Just such an effort to get this out of the news cycle, to not give people an opportunity to even read this. And many say that the New York Post reporting, those reporters too, they really back up everything that they put out there. They did a lot of research. And so there's no reason to not give people an opportunity to at least read those articles. Because when it's on Trump, his taxes, anything else, the Russia collusion hoax for so many years, they allow that all to be on the internet for everyone to read. But then when it hurts Biden, then all of a sudden, we can't read it.
Yeah, and unverified, illegally obtained documents that they say is not even tax returns, but tax return information that nobody can verify because the New York Times won't share it. They'll gladly run with that. In fact, on Twitter, that was trending earlier, and yet the New York Post still can't tweet. One of the oldest and largest circulated news institutions in America. You're right. This is what would happen in a dictatorship, not in the United States. And if these social media entities want to be considered platforms that just unbiasedly share information, then they should act like it rather than a publisher with these 230 protections. And that's why the president has been very vocal about having to look at those things. When you get companies determining what the American people can and can't see in terms of information, I mean, this is big brother stuff. This is big government stuff. And if you have big tech really behaving in that way, controlling the information the American people get, that should be chilling. And the American people need to speak out against that. And hopefully we will see that continue to happen in the coming days and weeks and months.
Yeah, well, a lot of us have been warning that big tech was already doing this and going in that direction. And what has happened is kind of something we've all been predicting. We've been pressuring people like me and others, especially who work in the media and conservative politics, have been pressuring lawmakers to do something about it. And so we hear the Republicans say that we're going to look into this and we're going to take it seriously. There's others that believe that we should just let the free market handle it. Either way, something needs to be done, especially after what we just witnessed. Now, I wanted to shift gears here. Apparently, President Trump abruptly cut off an interview with 60 Minutes host Leslie Stahl. Why is that? And also, we're learning that he might even release, the White House might release some of the interview that was recorded before the actual interview will air this weekend. Yeah, well, the president's proud of his jousting with and hostile interviews. He wants to make sure that anything that is released in a fair and fulsome way so that his answers are accurately and completely reported to the American people, rather than any sort of deceptive editing. Leslie Stahl makes no secret of the fact that she's not a fan of the president. She is more of, on the liberal side of things. She's a bit of an activist. 60 Minutes has been caught before sort of deceptively editing things. So the president is going to basically, we think, or he has intimated that he may just release the whole thing so that they don't have the chance to deceptively edit him. He wants to make sure that his, he's not afraid of combative interviews, of answering tough questions. He just wants to make sure that the reporting that comes out of it is fair, accurate, and complete. Yeah, absolutely. We have a video that President Trump posted on Twitter. It's of Stahl running around the White House without a mask on. And these are the same people that lecture us that we need to wear masks at all times. They're very critical of President Trump contracting COVID-19 and some of the other people in his inner circle. So let me play the video so our audience can see it. Roll tape.
You got it? I got one.
So according to reports, Stahl had worn a mask at the White House up until the start of her taping with President Trump. But that's not like, they complain so much. That's not how COVID works. You don't just like wear a mask for a few seconds and then take it off and then you're immune to getting coronavirus at that point. And so again, the reason we're calling her out on it, and I'm sure the reason why President Trump posted it on Twitter, because these are the same people that virtue signal all day long about masks and how you're killing people if you don't wear the mask. And now, she gets her temperature taken at the White House and she wears it part-time, so that's okay. So we're not allowed to criticize her anymore.
Yeah, and that video was taken shortly after she had just chastised one of my colleagues and condescended to her for not wearing a mask when she was sitting at her desk with no one, even close to 6 feet, within her radius. And then my colleague demonstrated that when she would get up and walk around and be close to other people, she put on her mask. But Leslie Stahl decided to chastise her and be condescending and say, "Where is your mask?" And then just moments later be caught without wearing a mask. So the hypocrisy is exhausting at this point. The American people are over it, and it is kind of fun, though, to catch hypocrites in the act.
Well, I'm glad you released the video, or President Trump released the video, because she probably would have been complaining about how, people still aren't wearing masks at the White House. It's a super spreader, because that's what they do. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't care if you want to wear a mask when you're driving alone or if you're out in the middle of the woods and want to wear a mask, that's fine. But like, don't lecture to us all day long that we're killing people or that we need to wear a mask alone when you don't even do it yourself. And so anyways, I'm glad that video is out there because now she can't complain about it, because I'm sure she was going to do that. And as you pointed out, she was already scolding people at the White House who were sitting alone that didn't have a mask on. Really quickly, where are we with coronavirus relief? I know that there's still a back and forth with Pelosi and Mnuchin.
Yeah. So today we're a little more optimistic than we've been in the recent past. Of course, we have been supportive over the last 92, 93 days of relief that would provide Paycheck Protection Program funds to keep small business employees connected to their jobs, unemployment insurance assistance to help people who have been harmed through no fault of their own, stimulus checks to ensure the American people have adequate liquidity, funding for schools to get schools reopened so that parents can stop doing double duty. A number of these measures we've been supportive of. The Speaker has really been in one place and hasn't moved for the last 90 some odd days. It seems like she might be willing to have some actual meaningful conversations involving potentially liability protections that the Senate has indicated are very important to them and important to businesses, important conversations on the level of state and local aid so that hopefully we can get a package that is actually related to losses due to the coronavirus and not these extraneous things that the Speaker has been pushing for, like stimulus for illegal immigrants and other things like that. It seems like today we're in a bit of a more optimistic place. The Speaker and the Secretary are continuing to have conversations. Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is in the Senate today speaking with members there to try to move the ball forward. We'll see hopefully some movement over the next, say, 48 hours or so. The administration remains committed to providing relief the American people need, and we hope that the Speaker is finally in a position to negotiate in good faith rather than just posture.
Yeah, hopefully. She needs to stop playing games because there are millions of Americans who desperately need the help. Well, Brian, we're totally out of time. Thank you so much for joining us.